I think that, when I look back at the last 6 months, um, the biggest challenges for us was to keep our plants running because aluminum is a continuous process industry. So it's not that something that you can just turn off the aluminum pots and then turn them on. So you have to keep the plants running. So the governments gave us the permission to keep it running. But then we had to do a lot of measures, taking into account the safety of the employees. We moved hundreds of employees within the plant boundary. We worked on trying to get the raw materials because road movement had stopped. We had to do rail movement. So I think the first months I remember of second half of March, April, we were having daily calls with the plants, trying to make sure that they have enough raw material to keep the plants running. So that was what strikes me, and what strikes me, of course, at that time was the amazing way that all the plant people came together, and we managed to keep all our smelters and refineries running through the whole process. So I think when I look back, the aluminium industry has gone through quite a lot. But the good news is that aluminium and the demand for aluminium now has come back quite strong. So, as you said, there are two distinct, let's say, work environments we need to talk about. People tend to talk about work from home and what role it will play. And we have to remember that that luxury exists only for people who work from cities or who have a desk job.
Yes.
Majority, 90% of the workers of Hindalco are working on plants and shop floors.
Mhm.
And the work from home concept does not exist on a factory shop floor. But I think what has happened there is that we have digitalized a lot, automated a lot. We have come up with making shifts that work in bubbles, so that if one person get affected in a shift, that whole group can be isolated and a backup shift can come in place. We have put in hygiene procedures on the shop floor that never existed before. Uh, we do a lot of truck movement, and you in some plants we have nearly 1,000 trucks going in and out every day. That has become now completely contactless. Not a single paper, not a single touch point happens because the drivers could be coming from different places. So I think that the way of working in a factory now, especially from a hygiene, automation, reducing contact, making different shifts work in bubbles, all these procedures have come in place. When you come to the office, there it becomes even a bit more interesting because if you're in a city like, let's say, Bombay, uh, as you can see, I'm working from my office now. I have been there since June 8th. And I think that, we are working on how this new normal of working in a corporate office is going to look like. And maybe I'll share with you a few of my thoughts on how this new normal or corporate life will work. I think the first thing that is going to be fundamentally different is that people have to take hygiene and health a lot more seriously than they have done in the past. What this disease has taught us is that you need to be clean, you need to keep washing your hands. And I think that that is probably, I don't know, it'll be a big cultural change for all of us, but hygiene and then health. What it has taught us that if your body is fit, if your immune system is strong, then you will probably be among those asymptomatic carriers that don't really suffer. So I think that people in the in most offices now have realized that keeping fit, healthy living, healthy eating, taking care of yourself. So let's start. The new normal is not about just working from home. It's about hygiene and it's about taking care and leading a healthy life. So those two things are coming out clear. The second part of the new normal, because now people are going to work as a mix of working from home or from a different place along with people working in the office. So I can see in many of my departments this combination of people who need to come to the office, people who can work from home, all of them are working together. So the accountability of your job becomes crucial. People now have to take responsibility and accountability. In the old normal, their bosses had the accountability. They kept chasing you, saying that have you done the work or not, and they kept following up. In the new normal, people have to take that responsibility on themselves. Then only it can work. The manager's job is not to chase you anymore. The manager's job is to make sure that the work gets distributed, that everybody knows what they're doing, to arrange a collaborative sessions when required. But the follow upping of part of the management job should now go away in the new normal. So I think that that is going to be the biggest challenge as we get into this new way of working, especially in corporate life. The technology is going to allow us to work as a mix of home and office. And for some people that have to do long commutes, they're going to get a lot more time. But then the way of working is going to be completely different. And the last point in this new normal is that your mental health is absolutely crucial. I have now realized after 6 or 7 months that a lot of people are now having a completely different type of stress and problems just staying inside the house and working. So this is something that we have to accept. I'm quite amazed when I open the papers and people say, okay, companies are saying that 365 days you can work from home. I just don't know how that will work in reality. And I think that we are going to go through an experimental stage where it's going to be a balance between work from home, work from office, using the new tools. Because at the end of the day, people are social animals, and that social interaction has to happen. You cannot just have all interactions to be virtual. So look, the whole point about reducing greenhouse gas emissions, reducing SOx, NOx emissions, taking care of water, which is as big a problem. All these topics were quite relevant before the COVID. So I don't think that the COVID has made us think about the environment now. We were thinking about it much before. I think what the shutdown has all taught us is that how, if you can cut down travel and people moving around, how quickly the air can get so much cleaner in our cities. So I think it has just shown us a tantalizing vision of how clean air and clean environment can look like. So I think all companies, especially aluminium and copper companies like us that are highly energy intensive, we started the journey 3, 4 years ago. The problem for us in India is that 90% of the power comes from thermal coal. And that if you have to reduce your thermal emissions, you have to slowly start to expand into renewables. So Hindalco will have about 100 megawatts of solar and hydro power by March 31st of 2021, and we will slowly expand that. And we are looking at different ways to get renewable power into our mix. But let me be clear, if the country needs to fix this carbon emissions, then we need to have an energy plan in place. Because if it's not thermal, I tell you, industry cannot today run on solar because you need the base load, which is 24 by 7. And the battery technology hopefully will get there, but it's not going to get there in the next 5 to 10 years. So I think that, like most countries, we should take an energy transition plan. And the first transition should be to natural gas, where the emissions are much lower. We should seriously consider nuclear power in the mix because most Western countries and China, that is a part of the mix, along with renewables like wind, hydropower. So I think that this energy transition plan is what we hope to be a part of, along with the government and like-minded companies. So I think, look, the whole point of the new norm is going to be, as I said first, you have to own your own career and have to be accountable for what you do. So, see, for a long time, people spend their time trying to impress their managers, get noticed, and then hence get promoted. So, that was how the careers used to grow. You are now going to be in a place, at least for some jobs or many jobs in the corporate life, where you will be working on your own and hence then having to show results of what you did. So I think that the whole point about delivering results, accountability, and then presenting it is going to be very crucial in careers going forward. Just sucking up to your boss is not going to work, because unless you come to the office, you can't do that very often. The second thing that is going to be important is, you see, in my life and in my career, networking has been an integral part of how I have developed. Now, people in this new normal will have to make sure that they network. So whether it's through online conferences, whether it's making an effort to go physically where it's possible, but the if you start to get isolated in your bubble, then you're not going to grow. So how do you network in the new normal is going to be the next challenge. And I think that, you will there are lots of online conferences, but it's very difficult to make new connections in an online conference. I have tried it, but I'm sure new tools and technology will come out. But you have to find the ability to network, make connections, grow your pool. Otherwise, you will not grow. If you're a startup, you need to raise money. How do you connect? Before you would go meet people, make your pitch, impress them, all that you now have to figure out how you're going to do. So I think that that is the thing I tell people. You have to be a lot more self-reliant, accountable for who you are and what you do. And then you still have to keep that ability to grow your network, because that network is what will allow you to grow in your career or in your company.